Good morning, everybody. How are you today? It is Carol here. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a certified grief educator and a certified grief to gratitude coach. And I was thinking there are some things that are very important to me in my coaching. And the main thing is really dispelling a lot of the misconceptions about grief so that I can help people move through their grief with a little more ease, because it sure isn't easy to do that. And the first thing to know is that grief is normal and natural. We don't seem to treat it that way, but it really is. But the really important thing I learned from my own grief journey is that you have to be an active participant in your grief to start healing it and moving through it. Now that sounds a little bit scary, an active participant. You might be thinking, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm just so in it. I know, I was too. And what I mean by an active participant is that you allow yourself to feel your emotions, that you express your emotions, that you seek the support that you need, whether that's from a coach or a counselor or friends or family, but that you don't do it alone, that you start expressing your grief. That's what I mean about being active. It's not really so scary, except the sharing the emotions part, but it really is about how do you acknowledge and accept the grief, know that it's valid, and start working through those emotions. That's what I mean by being active participant in your grief. The other thing that's really important to know is grief has no timeline. If only it did. If only we could say after 1 year, you're good, you're back to normal. You are never back to normal. Life is different. You're different. And depending on who you are, what your life history has been, how your loved one died, that's going to affect your timeline for grief. So we can't all say everybody who's lost a husband will be over it in 6 months, 8 months, a year. It doesn't work like that. So I don't want any of my clients or any of you who are grieving to feel like you're under pressure to move through it as quickly as you can. And I think we are, because of society, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing that I really love to talk about with clients and in general is that we do need to choose to live life again. We have a life left. And I think the important thing that I sort of gained from this experience is that we are actually honoring our loved one by choosing to live the life we have left. They don't have a life left. We do. And as hard as it may be, and as difficult as it may be, we're actually honoring them, not dishonoring them, I think, by choosing to live life. Because I know when Brian died, I was only 55 or 54, I can't actually remember, 54. And I had a lot of life left to live, and I didn't want to stay stuck in the awfulness of it. And it was awful. So if you're grieving, I know how you feel. And at some point, with baby steps, starting to think about what next is a really important thing. And it doesn't mean leaving your loved one behind. It doesn't mean forgetting them. And it certainly doesn't mean dishonoring them. So I think it's really important to start to come to terms with now what, with life again. And that's something we definitely work on. But one of the other things in grief that I'm pretty passionate about is talking about it, just like I am now, because society is very grief illiterate. We don't know what to do in grief until it happens, and then we still don't know what to do because nobody's ever talked about it. People don't know how to deal with us. We don't know how to deal with them. We don't know how to deal with ourselves or what to do, and it's really, really overwhelming. And so we need to start talking about it, talking about our emotions, truly saying how we feel, not, yeah, I'm fine, because I did that a lot as well. Because when people start to understand, wow, this goes on a little longer than I thought, this is tougher than I thought, my goodness, they start to go, I didn't realize it was like this. And so we do need to start talking about it, whether that's with friends, whether it's on social media, whether it's in a book. But as we talk about it, we educate, and education about grief, I think, is really paramount right now, because there's a lot of grief in the world. So one of the things that was very healing for me, of course, was writing my new book, my poetry. And surprise, surprise, I never knew I was a creative writer, but it turns out that was my way of starting my healing journey, even though it was 4 years after Brian had died. And my hope is this, that with this book, it's going to be like a companion for you, where you can immerse yourself in emotions that perhaps you're just too scared to share with other people, but you can go into a quiet place, give yourself permission to grieve, read through these poems, feel the emotions, allow it, acknowledge it, and see that there's hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you there is. But it does take that support, it does take work, it takes feeling it to heal it. And so with my book, which is coming out July 27th, I am so excited. I hope that will help you and guide you through this journey. It's a tough one. And in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have some interviews with other people who have been grievers and who have written books. And so I'm excited to share their point of view on grief and keeping this conversation open. So I wish you all a really beautiful day. If you are a griever, please give yourself grace to feel what you're feeling. Take the time, sit in silence for a little bit, and seek support. Okay, take care.